It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what is a really nice Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. Normally, we begin the show with here's who's here, here's what's going on, blah, blah, blah. However, we have late breaking news that has just come to the desk. Billy, do we have late breaking news sounder?
You know, George, I've been working hard on it. We do not have a sounder yet.
Really?
So we'll continue to work on that. But we've got the news.
Yes, we do.
And the Titans have officially hired Tim Kelly as their new offensive coordinator, while Charles London is their new pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And on defense, Chris Harris is their new defensive pass game coordinator.
Okay, let's bring Watson Brown in right off the bat. Watson, what does this tell you?
Tells me we're going to stick to what we're doing. We're going to keep on getting it and get better in the passing game, and that's what he was brought in to do. I don't know how much control he had of it last year, but I think we're going to stick with what we're doing. And 2 years ago, I thought it was pretty good, to be very honest, when we got beat in the first round, but we were the number one seed. Last year, it fell off. If we're going to do what we're doing, George, they better go get some offensive linemen, and they better go get them another bona fide receiver to run the style that they run. Those two things are a must to me before we're going to get back to what we were 2 years ago, and that's if we bring Ryan Tannehill back. And I would say this convinces me that we will bring Ryan Tannehill back as our quarterback.
So the cynical part of me says this whole Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy, I don't know that it was a smokescreen, but I don't think it was ever in the cards.
Well, it looks that way. I mean, that's till he tells us different, that's what you would think. Common sense would tell you, really and truthfully, who did he interview? He interviewed one person, right? Outside the building. And that was the young man that is now the passing game coordinator that was a quarterback's coach, I think he was. Is that right? Our receivers coach, one of the two with the Falcons?
Yes. Yeah, I think he was quarterback's coach there.
So he's quarterback's coach there. George, they run our offense too. They're a little more open than we are in Atlanta with it. But
everybody's a little more open than we are.
Well, that's – that one you got me on. I can't argue that one. I think you nailed it.
So okay, let me try it this way. Upon this news, is this cause for celebration, cause for not celebration? Hard to tell, too early to tell?
It's cause for same old, improve what we're doing. Let's get back to what we did 2 years ago. Immediately that's what I said. Let's get back to a very good offense 2 years ago. And the style, it's still not wide open even 2 years ago, but it was good. It was very sound. A lot of yards, a lot of points. We weren't in the 30th in the league in offense 2 years ago. It was pretty good offense. And it also tells me they're hanging with Derrick. They're going to go with Derrick here another couple of years. Before they decide to change some things. And it immediately told me to say, go get some offensive linemen, go get a bona fide receiver, try to keep your defense solid, and let's see if we can get better.
Watson and George, let me ask a question. 2 years ago when the Titans got the number one seed in the bye, what were the expectations kind of in that postseason? Obviously, it wasn't to lose at home to Joe Burrow. Did you feel like it was Super Bowl? What were the expectations when they got there?
No, it was Super Bowl. They were the number one seed in the AFC. I mean, it was. I think everybody thought that they would at least they would be hosting the championship game at their building. I mean, it's best I can remember, George, is Super Bowl. It was devastating that they lost that game. I mean, devastating that
George,
they got beat by the Bengals.
Do you agree there was still sort of a wait and see type of with Tannehill and kind of, Henry's coming back? And
you're talking about this?
Yeah,
because I want to go to Michael's question first.
Well, I was talking about Michael's question there.
Well, here's some things I remember. First of all, the Titans had run through a 2-week period where they had ripped Kansas City to shreds and won against Buffalo in a little bit of a, crazy ending where Buffalo got down to the 1-yard line, quarterback sneaked, and it didn't work. And so, admittedly, in some of my most cynical stuff, both of those games had almost 50% fans from the visitor. And so I put the challenge out there, not that I think they care, but get off your butt and sell tickets to Titans fans. Quit relying and quit taking the money from the visitors.
Right.
This team is good. This team deserves a home field.
You did that. You did that.
And dadgum, if they didn't come out with this silly protect our house. Really? Now we're going to protect our house. How convenient.
Yeah.
So, were they good enough? We thought they were, but there were some things that went on in that game that have caused big repercussions. The first being that the 25-year-old quarterback played with a lot more command, played with a lot more poise than the 33-year-old did.
Right.
And that made Ryan Tannehill look bad.
Sure.
That's why we're having some of the discussions right now that we're having. Now, in fairness to Tannehill, a year ago, that offensive line gave him no chance.
Yeah, he was running for his life.
The year before, Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times in that game.
Yeah.
And yet he was the more mature, the more able to handle the postseason than Ryan Tannehill.
It was telling.
Yeah. I guess I was just trying to understand because I didn't know. I know that there was a level of outrage when the Titans got beat to Burrow, but I didn't really know going in what were the realistic. Did everyone kind of say, listen, we maybe win that first game?
Oh, no.
If the Super Bowl was, I really, I wasn't in the area.
No, that's way off. I'm telling you, it was this town, Middle Tennessee. I can remember the morning of the game on that Sunday game with the Bengals. And I went in the grocery store and there were Titan jerseys all over Cookville. I mean,
wow.
The state was excited. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And they're hosting every game to the Super Bowl. They're not leaving town.
Sure.
And bombed out right out the gate, threw an interception first play of the game. And from there, it just you never felt like we had control of that game at any point in the game. And it was devastating. And you can't imagine, Michael, how I defended Ryan, as George and Billy know, quite a bit, but he got 8 alive.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill got 8 alive. Run him out of town, get him out of here. I mean, there was talk of doing that this past year, Michael.
Yeah.
So
he
played a little better till he got hurt, and and then it was different people down the stretch. But I felt this all along. I am not surprised at the hire.
No.
This is exactly what I thought he was going to do as soon as the season ended, or as soon as he let Downing go. This is exactly what I thought he'd do.
So here, in fairness to them, Cincinnati was better than anybody knew.
No question.
They were a team that was going to show the poise to get themselves to the Super Bowl and get within one defensive stop of winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
But at the time, Watson's right about one thing. I sat and froze my butt off in section 333. I have never heard the level of anger and the level of it aimed at Ryan Tannehill, whether fair or unfair. Man, when that 69,000, bagged out of there at the end.
Yeah.
Woo, holy cow.
Well, if the Titans don't think that, I mean, I understand because there's kind of two takes of it. Is the Titans either got exposed that they were fool's gold, or they can win with that formula, that recipe that they've got. And so that makes me understand the promotion a little bit better of them thinking, listen, if we just get back to doing what we do best, if the O-line gets a lot better and healthy, we got a chance to run this back and we're going to win different ways. Then we're not going to win like Kansas City does, but we've got a way to win.
Well, they're not winning with this receiving core. This
Sure.
receiving core is as bad as there is in the NFL. And if it looks anything like it did, Watson, this isn't going to fly.
No. And we didn't fix the offensive line. We'd had all kind of problems, Michael, with Taylor Lewan.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a strong backup if he gets hurt again, because he's been hurt a lot in the last few years. And sure enough, he goes down immediately. And we got a very average, and that's being nice, backup that took his place. We let A.J. Brown go, which to me was the absolute killer. It was a killer in the locker room. You're sitting there with your whole team back. This team was back pretty much. And they let their star go. What's that telling the locker room?
Yeah.
That you're not trying to repeat and go back to the Super Bowl again. To me, you're letting a big piece go, and then you're going to rely on a drafted kid.
Right.
I thought that was the killer to the whole team, and it may have gotten the GM fired.
Was A.J. Brown's contract up at the end of that season?
No,
or
he had a year left, but he wanted it restructured.
Man. Yeah.
He wanted it restructured, threatening to not play if he didn't get it restructured. Who was it, George, that had just gotten the big bucks? Was it Tyreek?
You know,
who got the big bucks that then he said, well, then pay me?
Well,
I don't remember who
Tyreek
it
did
was.
after that season.
It was a bunch of them. Tyreek Hill. It was a group of receivers that were getting paid, and A.J. Brown didn't.
I was on vacation when it happened. I was absolutely stunned when I saw the news. I know, look, first of all, with this news, we're going to change up a couple of things that we were going to do. We'll talk more about this hire and what it means around 2:40. Billy, you got 4 minutes. Go.
All right, let's rumble through it. Big night of college hoops. 4 ranked matchups. Number 10, Marquette at number 21, UConn. Rutgers at Indiana. That's a top 25 matchup. Number 22, NC State at number 8, Virginia. And number 17, TCU at number 12, K-State. So if you're a college hoops fan, tonight's the night. Auburn at A&M in the SEC and Arkansas at Kentucky. So a lot of games tonight and starting this week that will implicate March Madness, seedings, conference tournaments, all that. So big night in college hoops. Georgia Preds are also at home tonight against Vegas. It's been a week and a half since their last game. So they'll play tonight at 7. Preds are a narrow favorite tonight. So we'll see if they can get it done. This is the big news, though, the NFL, George. Steve Wilks. 1 week after D'Amico Ryans left for Houston, San Fran found his replacement. Steve Wilks will be the DC in San Fran. He interviewed yesterday and it was made official today. So they were dead set on him after talking to him.
Didn't take long, did it?
No, they weren't wasting around. They were not messing around, wasting time at all.
Good for him, too. He deserves that.
He's been screwed over.
Hopefully he can do a great job there and actually get a head coaching job, the next one that's open.
And the Arizona search, George, they've taken its sweet time finding a head coach after firing Cliff Kingsbury. It looks like they're finally zeroing in on a group of candidates. Brian Flores, of course, he was in the talks there, but he left for Minnesota. So apparently it's down to Lou Anarumo and Mike Kafka.
This show will go out on a limb. Lou's getting the job.
He should.
I think he is.
Who's going to deal with Kyler Murray? That's the question.
Oh, God.
And George, I want to get to this too. LIV Golf, their attorneys have announced their revenue, virtually nothing.
0.0.
No revenue. Their attorneys
0.0.
They admitted that in a motion filed yesterday with the U.S. court. So.
Your Honor, 0.0.
You can
How
talk
long that?
You can talk that game.
Yeah. Are you talking bank account or IQ?
Let's let you decide.
Okay. Could be both.
Could be both.
Could absolutely be both. So,
little switcheroo there.
what do you mean?
Just with the update and everything.
Yeah. You moved rapidly.
Early cheap shot from Watson.
Okay. I guess, when things happen late, you have to shift gears a little bit. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Would I be right that after the break, we'll go to Knoxville?
You are correct in that.
Okay. And we'll talk with Knoxville sports talk show host Tony Basilio. Stick around. As always, this will be interesting.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, we're back. We're headed to Knoxville in just a moment to say hello to Knoxville sports talk show host Tony Basilio. Later, we'll get into a little more discussion of the breaking news, which is really no big surprise. The Titans have named Tim Kelly as their new offensive coordinator, which I think we thought all along was what was going to happen. Now let's go up to Knoxville. Tony, how are you?
Gentlemen, doing great. Great to talk to both of you.
Okay, you ready for some show prep?
Hey, man, I'm always on, brother. So fire away. Show
Okay,
prep.
this is certainly not done by me, although the idea was mine.
Mm-hmm.
When Tennessee and Vanderbilt play tomorrow night, one of the things that is starting to become an issue is that Jerry Stackhouse hasn't sniffed the possibility of beating Tennessee, losing by an average in his games against the Vols by more than double digits. So I decided, let's go back and look at the last, I think it's 6 Vanderbilt coaches and their records against Tennessee. And here goes.
Oh, hang on.
Looky here. You like this graphics?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of it while you're talking. Go ahead.
So C.M. Newton was 7 out of 19.
Right.
Eddie Fogler, by far the most successful against Wade Houston, 6-3. Jan Van Bredikoff won 5 of 12 against the Big Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Page 2. Let's see. Kevin Stallings played more games than anybody else. 15 and 21. Bryce Drew was 1 and 5. And then there's Jerry Stackhouse with a big old donut. How about that?
You know, the thing about Stackhouse that gets me is your name's Jerry Stackhouse. Now, the book on him is that he's a lazy recruiter and a pretty thin-skinned guy. He's a pretty thin-skinned guy. But, I mean, look, you got to put a little effort in. You know, I'm glad you played in the NBA. I'm glad you wear $6,000 suits. I mean, God knows you're the best dressed man in show business. There's no question about it. I mean, there are people on the red carpet at the Grammys the other night didn't have this guy's clothes on. Okay. But he ain't getting it done. I mean, no offense to him. And I think he's a pretty good coach, George. The thing is, when I watch his teams play and talk to people around the sport, they say, you know, his teams play pretty well during games. He's got this thing that he does, though, George. I don't understand, where he starts games with his second unit. Coach Watson Brown, is it in football? Is your goal to be down 7-0, 10-0, 14-0? When you gonna put your second team out there to start a game? That's what this guy does.
No. There, you know, Tony, there's a reason they're called second teamers.
Yeah, I was one. And so and we got to sit on the bench and talk to the coach and, you know, and get to know the coach. And Jerry Stackhouse starts games with the second teamers. I mean, but then he's had an epiphany here recently, George, which might give Vandy some hope in that he's going to shorten his bench because they beat Ole Miss and they shortened their bench doing it. You know, my thing, George, the thing I miss is, and we used to, in my younger days when I was young and crazy, we used to take bus trips down to Nashville and go see games. And I always loved seeing games in that old building because you feel like you're walking into like a Wrigley Field. You feel like you're walking into, you know, the history of it.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, tomorrow night, what's the crowd going to be, George? 50-50, 60-40 Tennessee? What's the crowd going to be?
I would guess it would be 70-30 Tennessee.
How? I mean, how could Vanderbilt let their basketball program get to that point? How?
Well, what you've had is a succession of stuff over the last 5 or 6 years where they're not relevant. I mean, when was the last time they played a big game, had NCAA tournament possibilities, ramifications? So they haven't been relevant now for 6 or 7 years. Bryce Drew, while a very good recruiter, didn't seem to, on game night, do very well. The flip side is what seems to be going on here. You called him a lazy recruiter.
That's the word.
That is the word. That's the book, is that he doesn't really particularly like to recruit. And when you look at his team, they don't have enough SEC talent to compete. And, you know, when tomorrow night's over, if Tennessee wins, Rick Barnes will get up and he'll talk about what a great coach Jerry Stackhouse is. Well, he should. He'll have then been 8-0 against him.
I'll never forget the night that one of the greatest ones of those is the night that Payton beat Wade Houston by 63 in 1993. We're getting ready to celebrate the 30th anniversary of that dubious evening, which, by the way, is the night we had a blizzard here. And Payton got up and said, you know, now he just beat this guy like 103-41 in an SEC tournament game. This wasn't even, you know, this didn't even count. This is an SEC tournament game. And he says, you know, that is a very, very good basketball coach in that other room. I just want you to know that. Now, he bet tripled his score, but he's a very good coach. George, I love when those coaches stand up there and they know the guy in the other locker room ain't worth a rat's patoot. And they know everybody else knows that. But they stand up there and they go, oh, I love him. He's a great coach. He's a great coach. They did a lifetime contract.
That's Rick Barnes.
And on the not recruiting thing, I mean, if Nick Saban tried that, how do you think that would work out for him? If any of these coaches were arrogant enough to walk into their sport and go, I just don't need players. Because I watch Stackhouse's team again, and I love college basketball. At least I used to till it became borderline unwatchable night in and night out. But I still watch enough of it to know what I'm talking about. His teams look well coached.
Yeah, that's the bad part.
Yeah.
Is I think he does know how to coach.
Yeah.
Now, there are two areas where he's been let me say this. He's not been a very good recruiter, and his connection to the fans in this community has been a complete zero. And I blame him for some of Memorial Gym, not all of it, but certainly some of it is on him, and he doesn't seem to give a damn. That's the part that really is mystifying to me, is he doesn't seem concerned with it.
Yeah. So the question is, what's he doing there? Like, if I'm not recruiting hard and I don't give a damn, what are we doing? I don't know. You tell me. Are we just playing dress up? Because,
he plays a lot of golf.
Tennessee team. Well, they're going to play a Tennessee team tomorrow night that's having all kinds of trouble finding itself. That I don't want to say the balls are there for the taking, but Tennessee is certainly in an offensive funk of epic proportions. Santiago Vescovi re-aggravated his shoulder in the Texas game, and he was extremely average the last 2 times out. Josiah Jordan-James, if it's not for his Herculean effort the other day, they probably don't beat Auburn in literally a game. I thought they were going to put up peach baskets for the final 10 minutes. Call timeout, bring a Naismith, like a Naismith lookalike out there, put peach baskets on either side.
Jump ball after each bucket.
Guys, thank God neither one of those two teams was shooting at that Chinese weather balloon, because that thing would circle the earth 4 times.
Watson, he's in mid-season form.
Tony, did you ever think you'd see the day? And George is a little younger than me and went through this same thing when he was a student there. Did you ever think you'd ever see the day? Vanderbilt basketball and Vanderbilt baseball have been very good for a long time. Those two sports now have not gotten enough credit for consistency up till recently.
Right.
Up to the last 10 years here. And baseball's even been good through that. Did you ever think you'd see the day that it'd be 70-30 in Memorial Gym, Big Orange? I mean, I was sitting there as a student and I didn't see 10 orange shirts in the whole Memorial Gym. And I mean, they'd come out and Coach Mears would walk out in his orange jacket and Coach Aberdeen right beside him.
No.
And oranges would come flying from everywhere. I mean, there would be 1,000 oranges on the Memorial Gym floor in warm-ups. And it's just to think about those days and how much it meant to Vanderbilt and to Nashville when Tennessee came to town, and to think where it is now. It's unbelievable that a program can go that far down. I mean, it really is unbelievable. Now, I watched Alabama do that when I was at UAB, how far it fell. Boom, it came back finally. Tennessee, how far football had fallen there. But to me, I would have never thought there'd be a day I'd see Memorial Gym 70% orange in that gym. Never thought I'd see it.
Let me give you guys something to think about, because you guys are there, I'm not. And certainly I try to keep my eyes on these things. It seems to me the Nashville and this is another thing that doesn't make any sense to me, but you would think Nashville becoming a world-class sports city would help Vanderbilt athletics, but it doesn't seem like it has.
Pro teams hurt, Tony.
Pro teams hurt. And you know what? I think the fact that there's something that's pretty fun to do pretty regularly in that town, meaning that hockey team, has taken a lot of eyes and a lot of care off that Vanderbilt program, which George has allowed that thing to slide into the abyss to the point where, whatever. Kentucky plays, maybe we'll go over. Tennessee's pretty good this year. Maybe we'll go, maybe we won't. what are the Preds doing that night? Are they on the road? Are they somewhere? It's because there's no way, George, a generation ago, no way those people would have put up with what's passed for Vanderbilt basketball the last several years. No way.
Tony,
no way.
I think it's an interesting point you make. Number one, the level of apathy here has helped Stackhouse because there's virtually no reaction.
Right.
And the second thing is the newspaper world does not have the level of authority, the level of, man, when the Tennessean says it, boom.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and also, George, they're not front page anymore. Even the Tennessean puts Vanderbilt back 2-3 pages into the paper. And George can remember this when I was here as coach, coordinator and head coach, we're front page every day.
Yeah.
It's us, and it was me and Coach Majors, something good or bad, but it was front page every day.
Yep.
And I just think the pro teams, the combination of basketball falling off and Preds, Titans coming to town, man, it was a double barrel.
The soccer team. Hey, guys.
And now the soccer on top of that.
You say what you want to say. They get 28, 30,000 people in that building. It rocks and rolls. And Vanderbilt's going to play before 25% crowd. And, George, most nights when I'm watching games in there, geez Louise, you can't see anybody in the stands. I just can't be.
Tony, that's why to me they've got to win. If Vanderbilt's going to get their gym back, if Memorial Gym's going to be the old Memorial Gym that we all loved, I even think the teams that came loved it because the atmosphere in there was unbelievable. You love playing in front of that.
Yeah.
And as opponents, you love coming to town.
Yeah.
And I just think they got to win. You do whatever you want to do, but you've got to win if you're going to take on these pro. You can drive 3.5 hours down to Birmingham, and all we're talking about, Alabama and Auburn are front page every day. It's all Alabama and Auburn. There is no pro sports in the state of Alabama.
Yep.
And so it's still a college town, college state. And Knoxville can still feel that.
I love it.
Nashville cannot. It cannot. Yeah. And I don't think you can take it on unless you win, period. You got to win. George, do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, Tony, one of the hardest things to look at is to go in that gym and see what were called the balconies that Clyde Lee built in the mid-'60s. You could hide Patty Hearst up there. Now, there's a group of people that have no idea what I'm talking about. Two of them are in this room.
I've actually heard that.
Right now.
I've heard
You've
that
heard
story.
that line before.
I've heard it.
There's nobody up there. This is something I never dreamed I would see.
Yeah.
And for me, having grown up in the shadows of that building, it is sad.
Well, and for me as a Tennessee basketball fan, somebody who, and I arrived in campus in the mid-'80s, Tennessee went down there. It was nearly impossible when CM was there in the 80s to go down there and get a win. Nearly impossible. And so you appreciated just how hostile and how nasty and mean that crowd was and how much they hated Orange. And there was every yin needs a yang. I'm not sure if Vanderbilt to win a basketball game anymore. Don't get me wrong, but I just wonder how something that mattered to that many people, that graphic you just put up there. What is the number now? 1 in
the last
14,
13,
1 in 5 and 0 in 7. So it's 1 out of 12.
Yeah, put it back up there
12.
if you will, Billy.
1 out of 12.
That's ridiculous. That's
1 in 5 and 0 in 7.
That just can't be. And Stackhouse, again, I'm looking at that and I'm going, you can do better than that. No offense to him. And again, he looks like a great dresser and his teams are well coached. The guy didn't have any players. And he's been here for how long? How long has Stackhouse been there now?
This is the fourth.
Yeah, you have any players? Come on now.
Let me ask a question kind of for all three of you guys, and Tony can start. Obviously, y'all have tracked this kind of slide that Vanderbilt basketball has had, and it's been a slide. I'm going to ask you guys, are there any 1 to 2 moments that you felt like it wasn't just some gradual slide, but kind of turning points to turn this to where it's at now of how low it's at? Are there any moments that you can think of just in the last couple of years that you felt like those were the signs of, oh crap, this is about to get really ugly?
Watson, I'll start it. When Darius Garland, signed there, and we now know how great that kid is.
Yeah.
He basically got to play 5 games at Vandy. So in fairness, they were not very lucky. And the second thing is this slide started with Bryce Drew, and it desperately needs. I'm not saying you got to go Bruce Pearl, carnival, but you've got to have a guy that gets out in this community who pumps the tires of this program. And there's none of that. There's absolutely none of it. Y'all.
My favorite is the head coach that's there now, leads the SEC in blocks, and he didn't even play. The guy sits around and blocks people on Twitter all day.
Yeah.
I mean, that just can't be. Think about this, George. Think about when Vandy's job was open, if they would have, now this would have been asking them to do something competent and, having competent athletic department, which I'm not trying to get you guys in trouble, but it kind of is what it is at this point. But say they would have gone and found this guy that's in Missouri now, run and gun style. Those Missouri people, now, they're going to finish upper third of the league, somewhere like that. I mean, they're not great, but man, they're fun to watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guys upset some people. A style of play like that would bring those people back. What this guy's doing, this guy's bad boring. And bad boring, hey, when you're bad boring, around here, that was our last football staff before this one arrived. That was Jeremy Pro Football. Bad boring. In sports, this day and age, bad boring is the worst combination you can be.
It's like what Bob Huggins has been able to do at West Virginia. I mean, they've always been, and those people probably love him because they know, I mean, the old Huggins was get in your face, full court press. That was their style. They weren't going to out recruit the University of Texas, but they were going to really challenge some people with the way that they played. And their style was going to give enough people problems that they're competitive.
And this cat at Missouri, I mean, look, I watch college basketball night in, night out, and I don't know what I'm looking at because I feel like I'm such an old person at this point. Because I remember when people could shoot the ball, George. And these days, I mean, I watch this game and I'm going, you're a Division I player? And you're Division I? And you're on scholarship? And did you practice yesterday? I mean, Tennessee and Auburn the other day combined for and I'm not, you can look this up, it's 6 for 48 from 3-point land, some crazy number in that game that was played in the 40s here. And I wrote on my blog every day. God knows why I'm doing that every day, but it's up at tclub.team. I said it looked like a collection of 60-year-old men that haven't touched the basketball in 30 years playing horse in somebody's driveway from long range. I mean, these are Division I athletes. So if I'm anybody these days, I go try and find coaches that want to run and gun and get up and down the field, down the court. And I know people, well, the stats geeks are going to say, well, that doesn't win and that's not what wins. And to some extent, that's probably true. But I think Vandy needs to sell some tickets, too, at this point.
Yeah. Watson, anything you want to close this with?
Well, I just think, guys, it's been a tsunami. Basketball goes down. Titans and Preds have been pretty good, gotten better. Yeah. And George will remember, because I think this really hurt. They changed ticket prices a few years back, George, if you remember when they did that. Changed seating. You had to pay a lot more for a seat that you've been sitting in your family's been sitting in for 50 years. I mean, and that was so negative. And then about that time started losing. To me,
we lost you.
Oh, that's bad. He
was getting ready. Somebody was getting ready to get ripped. I wonder if somebody within the apparatus of that athletic department pulled the plug on him. What do you think, George? Watson was getting ready to step in it.
Hold on, say that again. Within the apparatus.
Yes, of their athletic.
Okay.
He was getting ready to step in and do irreparable harm. So, Watson, I've never been more glad to see you muted, my friend.
Okay. Tony, I want to teach you something here.
Yes.
Okay. Over the years, when a team, in particular in football, didn't have a good offense, I've sort of called it Cro-Magnon.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael over here, before the show today, says you don't even know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go to the dictionary definition of Cro-Magnon.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive that you pull this out of your derriere. Cro-Magnons were the first humans, and it says genus Homo, to have a prominent chin. This was back in the day.
Boom.
Just remember that.
Back when I was in high school, probably, or maybe a little before that.
So Watson's back, I think.
Watson,
and he was about to get on a roll.
You were getting ready to say something, Watson. You did not.
I was getting ready to say to me, if I'm Vanderbilt basketball, I get me an exciting guy in here that can turn the city on, that can win. But I go get me shooters. That gym was built around shooters. There's always been great shooting. It's always been said, people come in here, it's a different look. It's hard to shoot in that gym when you're not used to it. And Vanderbilt would shoot people out of there. I mean, just light it up from everywhere. And now I just don't see that anymore. Go back and get me a bunch of shooters and put them out there and let's just throw it up there.
Yeah. And this, I'll tell you what, guys, hey, this Rick Barnes basketball, you know what they do? It is like playing 93 Alabama. I mean, they defend you, and they do not quit defending you. And they'll get up to 30 points on you, and they're defending you. And it doesn't matter whether they're winning by 10, down by 10. You can't tell by the way they're playing defense. It doesn't matter whether the shots are going in, whether they aren't. And, the officials in Division I basketball don't call the physical stuff. So these coaches have figured it out. I'm going to put two hands on you. I'm going to grab you all over the floor. I'm going to clutch. I'm going to impede your progress. You can't call a foul all the time. And Barnes and those guys, I mean, you watch it tomorrow night. Those guys are so physical the way they defend people, and they play so hard. Tennessee plays so hard. It's unreal. Just on offense, they are they're hard to watch, guys. Hard to watch.
6:00 Central tomorrow night. Yep. Tony, tell people where they can hear you, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll call it a day.
So as soon as tomorrow night's game ends, we'll be on over at tclub.team or wherever you can find me on in the Twitter sphere. When I get out among the Twidiots every once in a while, but we do it after each and every Tennessee basketball game. And after that game that was played in the 40s the other day, I was wondering why. Like at one point during my post game, Georgia night, I said, if I was not being paid to do this, I would have turned the game off. It was way too nice outside for a midwinter game. And I asked my audience, I said, I'm looking at several thousand people are in here. I said, what's your excuse? I have one. I'm making a living. I'm putting my kids through college here. What is your excuse?
Hey, if it gets boring tomorrow night, call me. I'll be there.
Oh, you and Mark Griffin.
Absolutely. We'll both be there.
Divided. Are you guys going to the game together or?
I was invited, but I have a credential, at least for now.
Oh, I don't know about after this appearance. You got to go either way.
I'm going to blame it on you. Thanks as always.
Love both of you. Thank you.
See you, Tom.
He's a piece of work, isn't he? Tony Basilio, man. Okay, after the break, we're going to go back to the story that led the show off. The Titans have hired Tim Kelly as their offensive coordinator, to the surprise probably of nobody. More reaction next. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. So, repeating the news that sort of started the show, Tim Kelly is the new offensive coordinator of the Titans, as expected. Watson, you sort of put it out there earlier that you think this is the guarantee that Ryan Tannehill is back.
Yeah, I just think so. I mean, I just feel like he knows this offense. Kelly's been with him 2 now a year. It's obvious they're not going to change their style. They may do some different things passing wise a little bit to add to what they're doing. So I think it's going to be more of stay the course and let's get better at what we're doing, which to me says Ryan will be here another year and prove himself and see if he deserves another contract after this year's over, or this will be it. But I think he'll be back now. I can't see him letting him go.
Okay, y'all sort of bat this around. In the wide receiver world, how is it and what is it they go about doing to get themselves to a point of being just middle of the pack, halfway decent, where you got a chance with it?
Where it's not a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got really 2 options. You got free agency and you got the NFL draft. Watson, I like the NFL draft with a bunch of these receivers. I mean, you got a bunch of guys that could really be good players. I think the wrong approach is to draft one guy and say, this guy's going to fix all of our problems, kind of the Traylon Burks situation. I didn't like how basically they were saying this guy's going to come in and step in and replace A.J. Brown. I think similar to kind of what the Chiefs did, they went and got a couple good receivers that were B to B- receivers. They drafted Sky Moore. They went and got Juju Smith-Schuster. They just got a couple guys around that it felt like we're okay, and so I think you do it with both. You can't have this guy's going to fix all of our problems. I think you kind of go like the Chiefs did, say we're going to address that receiver position. Maybe it's a Jalen Hyatt, but then also go and get a couple receivers in free agency for low dollar money that are pretty good. So what do you think?
I would do both. I'd look both. I think they've got 2 major things to fix: offensive line and receiver. And I would look free agent and draft both. I just don't think you can fix it with one or the other. I mean, just take healthy guys, for God's sakes. I mean, I'm just calling it like it is, guys. I mean, we took Julio Jones hurt.
Yeah.
He never played. We
bring in, knew there was that risk.
We bring in the young man this year who's just coming off of an ACL. Let's don't take a chance on injured guys, and let's bring in a bona fide guy if we can find him in free agency. I'm all for it. I do think they need to draft one, but they've also got to overhaul the offensive line. They got to overhaul it, and it starts with Jones, our center, and we got to find out if he's even coming back or not, guys. I mean, he had the double concussions toward the end of the year and didn't play the rest of the year. He's getting on up in age. Does he want to do this again with 2 concussions in a year and playing center in the NFL. I mean, you're going to get your head banged on a few times.
Yeah.
And so I think the overhaul of the offensive line, Michael, and just another couple receivers, I don't think you can just say one will fix this. I think they've got to go get a couple of more guys and hope that Burke steps up. I mean, he's a first-round draft pick. He should step up. He was hurt half of the year too. And so when you're a rookie jumping into the NFL and you play half of the season, you can't get any better because you never get to learn the stuff and never get enough experience to get over the hump. So they've got to get him healthy and bring in some more guys to go with it. The tight end situation looks pretty good. Is Hooper a free agent? I think he may be again. Is he a free agent?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
No.
Yes, I don't know if he is, but we need to bring him back if we can. And then the young guy we're playing is a pretty good player. And use him.
Let me try this on both of you. So in the draft, we all concentrate on day one, obviously, in the first round pick, because in theory, it's the easiest one to hit on.
Right.
Austin Hooper is a free agent, by the way.
Okay.
What I thought.
Get that. Given their needs, is it offensive line in the first 2 or 3 picks? Is it a wide receiver they've got so many holes that my first thing is they can't fix it all this year.
Yeah, but you got to give yourself a chance. And I think, Watson, you might totally disagree with me on this, but for me, it seems like it's easier to hit on a 3rd or 4th round pick that's at receiver than at offensive line. I could be totally off on that. I'm sure there's a statistic on the opposite, but it seems to me that, you can get a lot of guys in the 3rd and 4th round that are receiver. They don't fit everyone's perfect type, but they're still really good weapons, you can still use them. I think if you're going to go offensive line and you want him to play this year, it's got to be in your first 1 or 2 picks. I think anything after that's a total gamble. You got to start up front.
The history of that, Michael, is that in those early rounds, it's tackles.
Mm-hmm.
It's tackles. It's offensive tackles, and they're such a premium. But now you get down around round 3 or 4, centers and guards. I'll kind of disagree with you a little bit there. You can find centers or guards in the 3rd rounds, but you can't get those outside guys, not the bona fide ones. And I think it's exactly what a receiver is. You find the bona fide ones in that first round. You can find a bunch of them in that round 3 or 4. You can, just like you said.
Yeah.
So they can fix inside guys. They can go get some depth at receiver. They've got to find a way in free agency, though, Michael, to fix some of this. They can't just fix it in the draft.
Right.
You've got to bring in some free agents that can be game changers for us. And George, look at the free agent linemen that have left us, that we've let leave us through the years now. We've had quite a few. Terry could name them. I can't think now, but we've had a bunch of linemen. I mean, Saffold just played. He just played with the Bills and played really well this year with the Bills. Conklin, wasn't it Conklin?
Jack Conklin.
Conklin left us and went to I think Cleveland or somewhere. And we've lost offensive linemen that way and let them go and weren't willing to pay them the money. When you run this style of offense, though, Michael, you got to have offensive linemen.
Yes.
You can't. It's not like the wishbone. The wishbone are angle blocks and veer blocks. It's a different style of guy. When you're going to run a power style of offense and you're heavy run first, you've got to have offensive linemen to do it. You can't beat around the bush.
Well, and the hard part too is like what Terry talked about. Was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? Kind of his State of the Union, where we looked at the contract situation and the cap space of where the Titans are sitting, and they've got to let guys go before they even start bringing guys in to be able to make some moves happen. And so there's going to have to be some give and take here, because they're not in a position. They're not like Chicago where they've got $90 million to spend on free agency this year. They are 23 in the hole. They got to clear up some stuff, and they're going to have to get really creative of saying, hey, we can get a guy at this deal or this deal. It's there. I mean, Rand Carthon's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But I think there's guys they can cut that won't kill them.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're there. I think Bud Dupree's not going to kill you, and he's a lot of money. Taylor Lewan's not going to kill you, and he's a lot of money because he hadn't played in 2 years anyway.
You got to find a guy for Taylor Lewan.
Yeah,
he didn't have
Woods, the receiver Woods. I mean, we can go find another one of him. He's a catch the ball. He's a ball control kind of guy. He's not take the top off kind of guy. And the one guy now I think they got to restructure is Ryan Tannehill and just redo his contract and get some money out of that. And I think Ryan will be very willing to do it, Michael, because to me, Ryan knows where he can be the starter.
Yeah.
If he goes somewhere else, he may not be the starter, but he knows if he stays here, if they keep him, they're not going after a free agent. They're not going to do that, quarterback.
We got to go to the break. Stat of the day is next. Then Taylor Barnette will join us. We'll get into a little bit more of the Titans stuff, the dilemma that is their jigsaw puzzle. And we'll also show you around 3:20 where the new Bronco coach, Sean Payton, showed Russell Wilson who his daddy is. Sure did.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Once the All-Star game is over, the Nashville Predators will have another of their college nights. Tuesday, February the 7th, Tennessee State University front and center stage when the Vegas Golden Knights come to town. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. The College Night Series ticket package includes a Predator game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/college nights. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general, baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
It's time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. Find them in Shelbyville, 204 East Depot Street on Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5. Also Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. Again, that's 931-492-4304. And as we speak, we have lost Watson for the moment. So we
has he been a bad boy?
Yeah, I guess so, George.
Wow.
And I got to find stat of the day as well.
You got a lot on your plate back there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's get to stat of the day. How many of the top 25? Oh, that's an old one.
I'd say the answer is 15.
Here, I'll
Okay,
go
Michael,
ahead.
you know the question.
I'll give you stat of the day.
That's not the question, but
Okay.
I have the right answer.
Here's the stat of the day question.
Okay. Have we had pilot error back there?
I guess so, George.
Is Watson back?
We're having a little fun. Apparently Billy isn't, but we are.
Okay.
Yeah. George.
Yes, sir.
If we don't know the answer to the one on this thing here, then we are completely awful.
Yeah, but I didn't see the full thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I took advantage to know that there's somebody named Trayvon.
Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to go. This is a stat of the day question. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name the last 3 number 1 draft picks in the NFL draft? And if that's easy, then we'll go back to 5. But let's start with 3.
Okay. Watson, who had the first pick last year?
Well, Burrow was 2 years ago, right?
Okay. We'll
Joe was 2 years
slot
ago.
old Joe Cool. What team had the first pick this year?
It's tough. It feels like it should be easy, right?
Yeah, it should be.
But it is tough to start going back through and remembering.
Yeah.
I had a difficult time with this one too.
Some of them don't come charging out at you.
Gosh, I can't even tell you who had the first pick in the draft. It wasn't the Texans.
No.
Because David won the last game. If you remember, Cully won the last game.
But hey, I'll give you guys a hint here, just to maybe help you guys out. 2 of the last 3 have been quarterbacks. 4 of the last 5 have been quarterbacks, but since we're going only 3 years back, 2 of the last 3.
Well, Baker Mayfield was the 5th?
No,
that's
5
years back.
That's
4
way
years.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago, Watson.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so Baker Mayfield
That's better
would be
than
that
I've
third
done.
quarterback.
Baker's one of them. You got that one. Okay.
Baker's one, and I thought Joe Burrow was. He wasn't the first pick in the draft.
Joe Burrow. That's in the last
Absolutely.
3. Yep.
So who had the first pick last year? Can you tell us that?
You're probably going to get it.
Okay.
Well, we'd get it if he told
I
us.
would hope so. I mean,
Jacksonville. Wasn't it Jacksonville?
Well, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but that wasn't who. That wasn't.
It was Jacksonville. Yes.
That wasn't last year's first pick.
No, that wasn't last year because
That was 2 years ago, though. So you got Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. That's your 2 of the last 3.
mm-hmm.
This is a tough one.
I knew this is what was going to happen.
Well,
Billy, you got the answer. You got the right answer, though.
Yep.
okay,
You
then
wanna
go
flash
ahead
it
and
up
show
there?
us.
Trayvon Walker
Wow.
from the University of Georgia.
I completely
Boy.
forgot about him.
Yeah.
The D lineman from Georgia.
Wow.
Probably the most, I don't know about unknown, but I don't think
Probably one of the most unknown first picks in the draft
For
we've
sure.
had in a while.
For sure. The other quarterback in the last 5 years was Kyler Murray. So you got Baker, Kyler, Trevor Lawrence, and Joe Burrow, and then Trayvon Walker. Tough one, though.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
Harder than it probably should have been.
Yeah.
So is young Taylor Barnette ready?
Yes, he is.
Oh, this is going to be exciting as we welcome all of you officially into the 3 o'clock hour. Taylor, how are you?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you calling me young Taylor, man. That made me feel good.
Yeah. Are you working hard for the company that employs you?
I am. I'm on the road, man. I'm on the road.
Excellent. So you were on the road Saturday. You went over to Allen Arena at Lipscomb University for what I think is sort of a watershed win for that program, because Liberty has been the bell cow of that conference, and they beat them at Allen Arena. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a huge win for Lipscomb and their program. They went up there to Liberty earlier in the season, got pretty bad. But I really enjoyed watching the game. They threw different guys at Darius McGee, who's the all-time leading scorer at Liberty and just a dynamic scorer and a guy that can shoot from 30 feet and just pulls up on a dime. They threw some different bodies at him. I thought they defended well. They made big plays and big shots. A lot of guys stepped up. And I really like Coach Acuff, what he does over there. I have a ton of respect for him and their program. And I was in conversation with him not too long ago, and he said something that was pretty profound, I thought. He said, Taylor, every team can have role definition, but not every team has role acceptance. And there's a big difference. And I thought that was really good because every team does have role definition, but it looked like on Saturday that Lipscomb had role acceptance, and I'm sure he was happy about that.
So, Taylor, this year they have beaten Liberty. They have beaten Belmont. They've gone to Louisville and won, and they dadgum near went to Michigan and won. So is this a team that could get to the NCAA tournament? Are they good enough for 3 days in a row to win their postseason?
Yeah, I think they absolutely can. It's just when you play 3 days in a row, and a lot just has to go right. You got to kind of catch some fire and shoot the ball really well, and you don't have a lot of time to prepare for the next game. So at least it's familiar faces who you played twice already in the season. I'll be interested to see what they do this weekend. They dropped a couple in a row on the road 2 weeks ago. Then they stood at home 2-0 this past week. So they play tomorrow or Thursday night on the road and Saturday on the road. I'd be interested to see how they respond on the road. I think that'll tell us a lot, because it's a lot. That's how the ASUN tournament is. A lot of the games that they're going to have to play to win to go to it are going to be in someone else's environment. So I think that's something that they've got to get over.
Taylor, one of the things that I noticed over the weekend was that Colin Castleton, the big kid at Florida, did the best job of guarding Sheboy that I have seen anybody do in 2 years. Last year, I thought Castleton was a very good player. I kind of feel like he's getting into elite status. You buying that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a really good player. He's experienced. I think that's the other thing that plays into it. He's one of the most, if not the most experienced bigs in the SEC. I think he's a fifth-year senior. So that obviously plays into him being able to, hold his own with Oscar Sheboy. Is just the fact that he's experienced. He's been there. He's got good hands, good footwork. He's tough. So he's got a lot going for him. I think he's a really good player.
Okay, I want to get a thought or two on where I'm going to go, and then I'll turn it over to Watson and then to Michael. So Duke has this great moment Saturday where they're able to beat their arch rival, North Carolina, at Cameron Indoor, and that's a huge win for John Shire in his debut game against the Tar Heels. But then 2 nights later, a really underrated Miami beat the dog crap out of them on national TV. So what is Duke? And while we're at it, what is Miami?
Yeah. Those 1 day to prepare turnaround games are really tough, to give you an idea. They play on Saturday night against North Carolina, the rival, a super emotional game. Then you win, you go to bed, you wake up, you have practice, you hop on a plane, you go down and play a really good team in a 19th ranked Miami. Duke's still young. They got some growing pains. They're dealing with a couple injuries. They're going to continue to get better. And Miami's really good. Those guys have been there for a few years now. Isaiah Wong's one of the best scorers in the country. Nigel Pack is obviously a big transfer addition. They've got guys that have been there now for 2 to 3 years. And they play harder than they have the past few years. I noticed that last night. is they were actually really defending. They were getting their hands on balls and deflections in the passing lane. They just play with a lot of energy, and they have so many different options that they can get scoring from. So they're hard to guard. I like Miami a lot. I thought they were really good last year as well.
Watson?
Taylor, talk to me about Belmont. I mean, I really thought coming into the year they had a lot of new faces and getting in a much tougher league. And what they've done has really, honestly, it's really surprised me. And just talk to me about Belmont. What are they doing different? What new faces is it? I mean, just update me on those guys. And do you feel like I did? I'm very surprised the year they're having.
Yeah, they've had a great year so far, and I really do think they're tied for first. I think it's a 4-way tie right now in the Missouri Valley. They're tied for first in that conference. I think they got a great shot at winning it. I really believe that their team this year, they've got new faces, but they're a team that has gotten better as the season has gone on. They don't have a traditional big like Belmont usually has. Evan Bronze is different. I mean, he's blocking shots. He's dunking the ball. They're playing a lot of 5-out. They've got playmakers. They got a couple freshmen that are continuing to get better, and Cade Tyson and Jacoby Gillespie. Keyshawn Davidson has battled some injuries and stuff here and there, but I believe that he's going to turn it on the rest of this season. And obviously you have Ben Shepherd, who's playing like the player of the year in that conference. I really feel like their team likes each other a lot. And then having an old guy like Drew Freiberg who shoots at a ridiculous clip from three, they've got really good pieces, and they play really well together. I'm interested to see how the rest of the season plays out.
What have they changed, Taylor, offensively? Are they doing the stuff they were doing last year, or are they completely gone away from that and doing more of a 5-out style and penetrate dish? What I haven't seen them since early in the year. What are they doing differently?
Well, they had Nick Muszynski for 4 years, who's a really good low post player. Obviously, they were throwing the ball into him a lot over the last few years because he's really skilled and had a great career there at Belmont. But that's not their personnel down low anymore. So, they're going a little bit more 5-out. A lot of times Evan or Derek or Frank could catch at the top of the key and go dribble handoff or pitch and pick. They got different options out of their flow game that is much different. And I think it's giving the guards a chance to make plays because the lane in a lot of ways is more open. The spacing is different. There's not big Nick Muszynski down there asking for the ball. And obviously just always like Belmont always has is they're out in transition, getting more transition threes and layups. And I also think Ben creates an energy on the defensive end that flows into their offense.
Last thing, and then Michael, you can have him. Watching Tennessee, Taylor, they've got one major issue. When they get in trouble, they just flat can't score. And I've watched them, and it reminds me of I would be so fun in high school basketball, and we'd go play somebody that plays this real slow style, and you didn't have a shot clock in high school. Keep the ball and slow the game down. And I hated that because I wanted to shoot. And you never get any rhythm. And Tennessee seems to play that way to me. They play a deliberate style offensively. You don't see them up and down the floor near the same that I used to. Is that got anything to do with this, or they just have those nights where they just flat can't shoot? Because, Taylor, it seems like when they can't shoot, they can't shoot. They can't score, period.
Right.
And if they don't work this out, as good as that team is, they're going to get bumped in a big game in the SEC tournament or in the NC2A tournament because they're going to run into one of those nights they can't pit it in the hole.
Yeah, as you're talking, it reminds me of Virginia when they got beat by a 16 seed in NCAA tournament.
Yep.
Never happened in history, but it's because the defense is unbelievable, right? Tennessee's defense is incredible. I mean, I think they're the best in the country. But you absolutely have to be able to score. And I think a few years ago when Virginia got beat, they come back the next year, redeemed, but I think it's the best offensive team that Virginia ever had. So it's a combination of both. You can't just live on stops alone. You got to get stops to win, but you also got to score. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, that's definitely concerning. If you're a Vols fan, is if a team gets hot, makes a bunch of shots, even if your defense is really good and you can't score, that's upset sounding.
Taylor, you obviously, you know basketball and understand it from a technique and what these guys are doing on the floor night in, night out. Talk to me a little bit. We'll stay, a big man like Plavsic, who obviously for Tennessee has gotten a lot better. He's definitely improved in his career, but there's still a noticeable gap between big men like that or big men around NCAA, the entire NCAA, and a guy like Colin Castleton or a guy like Edey. What does Edey and Castleton, what do they do that separates them just when you watch them play?
Man, I think that both of them have stuck with the process of development. That's a credit to their character. As they're older guys, it's a credit to their staff, because you're not really hearing about Zach Edey as National Player of the Year candidate until this year. And he's an old guy, so he's stuck with it. He's continued to work on his footwork. Those guys, when they get the ball in the lane, they don't bring the ball down. So many young bigs, when they get to college, they bring the ball down, and then all of a sudden they don't have the ball anymore when they go up and touch the rim. Those guys keep the ball high. They know that no one's going to get to it. They've worked on their finishing through traffic, and they don't get rattled, and they catch the ball. I think that's something that's really undervalued. Is there so many bigs out there that can't catch the ball? They can catch the ball and they can put it in the hole, and that's just a tribute to them continuing to develop and sticking with the process of college basketball.
Taylor, we had a stat yesterday that in the last week, 15 of the top 25 teams in the NCAA got beat last week. It seems like, and maybe we say this every year, but it seems like this year there really isn't a dominant team that you just go ahead and pencil into your Final Four. I'm going to put you on the spot. I mean, who do you like? Who are your four favorite teams right now? I'm not going to say best teams or lock in the Final Four, but the four teams right now that you've probably got the most confidence in when you watch, kind of some inconsistency this year in college basketball.
Man, that's a tough question. I think the team that I would pick to win the NCAA tournament is Houston. I don't think anybody plays harder. I don't think there's a tougher team, and they have some guys that can score the ball. They've won at Virginia. I mean, they've won some really tough games. And then on the flip side, I'm going to say Alabama. I really like Alabama. Brandon Miller is a force, and they won at Houston. So I think those two teams stand out to me a lot. Some floating teams for me. I like Virginia. They've got experience. They got some young guys that are coming off the bench. Coach Bennett's been there. He's won a national championship. I think that they have the pieces to be really, really good and do something special. Still think they're figuring it out a little bit. I'm trying, and then Purdue. I mean, I think that Zach Edey is a force. He's really, really good. He's humongous. What makes me a little bit nervous about them is their guard play. It's always been said you win the tournament with your guards. So I don't know if their inexperience and level of play at the guard level can win them a national championship, but I think Zach Edey's good enough to be able to.
Yeah. And last question here for you, Taylor. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Colin Castleton really getting to have his way on the offensive and defensive end with Shibwe. Do you feel like that game may have exposed something in Shibwe, or you feel like it's more of a testament to Castleton? I just want to know if you think that people are going to watch that game and say, there's a way we can stop Oscar, or we can at least slow him down. Not sure you can stop him much. Do you feel like that's the case, or is it more of just a testament to what Castleton was able to do?
I think it's both. And I mean, so I watched some of that game, and I felt like that Shibwe wasn't in a rhythm, and Castleton obviously had something to do with that. So I think Sheboy's proved that game in and game out, like he's going to do what he does. And so I think maybe a little testament to him having a little bit of an off night, but also what Castleton has done. But I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, Oscar's got amazing hands. I don't know if you guys have watched how it's like he just grabs the ball and no one else has a chance to get it. It's unbelievable. Even when the ball's like on the floor, he just bends over and grabs it. It's like a suction cup. So he's proven over and over again. But if you match his physicality and try to box him out, I mean, if I was the coach, I would just be like, hey, box him out, and you don't even have to get the rebound. Just make sure he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely ways, and every game plan probably looks similar to what you should do with Oscar, but it's just really hard to execute.
Taylor, really appreciate the visit. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And Adele says hello as well.
Thanks, old George. Appreciate it, man.
You take care, big boy.
All right, you too. Thanks, guys.
Taylor Barnette joining us on the show. After the break, a little bit more Titans after the news earlier today that Tim Kelly is going to be the next offensive coordinator and will go to Denver, where Coach Sean Payton let Russell Wilson know who's in charge. Stay with us.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Late word out of Chicago that Northwestern and Iowa will play next year in football at Wrigley Field.
That'll be riveting.
Yeah.
Take the under.
Won't want to run into the ivy, will we?
Ew.
That could hurt.
Yeah, that wouldn't feel good.
So, Michael, you brought up earlier that the Titans are, 23 million?
23 million under right
in
now.
the hole on the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, guys, if you're going to not only just get yourself legal, but give yourself some room to help your team.
Yeah.
How many millions do you have to shave off?
Well, Terry did a great job a week or two ago, kind of walking through exactly who the Titans needed to get rid of and what it would cut down. I think that he said it was reasonable to expect they could get, where they could spend 30 million, 25, 30 million, and that they had to spend. A point that I wanted to make last segment, we just kind of ran out of time about the Titans, was Watson. We talked about offensive line needs, wide receiver needs everywhere. And that's when, and you might disagree with me here, but that's when it seems like it makes more sense to bring a Tannehill back. If you make an aggressive move to go try to get a quarterback right now, the quarterback of the future, this team's not ready for that. This team, I don't think you're setting up that quarterback well to, with what the pieces of the Titans have right now, or the lack thereof. And so to me, we were talking about Tannehill briefly a couple segments ago. It makes more sense to bring a guy like that back. I don't want to bring a new quarterback into this situation. Watson, tell me your thoughts on that. But George, to answer your question, I think they can get about they've got about 25, 30 million to spend.
Yeah, I went through a list of them with Terry, and if I think it was like 6 guys, they got rid of all 6. Ryan was one of those. They could get to 43 million.
Wow.
And that's good. And most of those, I don't think it hurts them to let go, except Ryan. I think their defense is really good. They're in the top 10 in a lot of the stats, top 15 in most everything. And they've got some they got to re-sign. They've got to get Long back. They've got I forget who Simmons is not a free agent, but they need to get his contract done. So I think they've got that base there. They've got to fix the offense, and I just think that if you the way you got to do it, I think, is you keep Ryan but restructure his contract to the point you can pick up some of that money to be able to bring some other people in, Michael. That's the way I'd do it. I wouldn't go free agent quarterback right now just because there's so much to fix. So I agree with you there. But I also think this team could get back up there. I mean, the Texans aren't worth the flip. They're not going to be for a while. The Colts are not very good.
Mm-hmm.
The Jags have hiring Peterson was a fantastic move. And they're going to be viable now. That's going to be the one we got to beat, and we can get back there again if they'll fix a few things. I don't think this is a total do-over at all.
Mm-hmm.
We've got fantastic running back. We've got a really good young tight end now. The offensive line scares me to death.
Yes,
going and getting a receiver, Michael, we can do that. We can do that. Or a couple of guys to mix in here, but recalling an offensive line that's got a right tackle that's young, that played decent for his first year, and then our center, and really that's it.
Yep.
And we're not even sure the center's going to be back.
Yep.
I mean, everybody's saying Nate Davis didn't have a great year. They're going to let him go. He's a lot of money if they keep him. I don't see any way they keep Taylor Lewan. The other guy was what's his name, George? The smaller kid that played guard, they said would move to center. Who am I saying, Billy? Help me here. Our left guard, who's smaller.
Not Nate Davis.
But anyway, they're saying he could move to center if Jones doesn't come back. That's the piece, Michael, scares me to death. That's a lot of bodies, man.
It is.
And you can't miss. What you bring in's you can't miss.
Yeah.
You're talking about Dennis Daly?
Injury stuff and bringing in injured guys, we've got to fix the offensive line. But I do think this team, get Ryan healthy, get back to doing what we do, which Ryan can do. He can play that style of offense, and we can get back there again. I don't think we're that far away, but it's all on one side of the ball, in my personal opinion.
So does that mean you essentially have to take the year off defensively and just say what we have, it's going to have to be good enough. We've got to put every resource into the O.
Yeah, pretty much. I think you could bring in another corner if you can find one or whatever, but I don't think that's what's to fix. I would not bring Cunningham back myself. I would not as a linebacker. He's been injured and injured and injured. He hadn't played much, George, since we brought him in when the Texans kind of let him go. Well, did let him go. And we signed him. I'd let him go for sure. I would re-sign Long. I think he's a magnet, man. He plays hard. He's enthusiastic. He's fast. He can run. And he's a free agent. They're going to have to, and I'll bet you it's going to cost them some money because I think there'll be people after him. We were talking about that with the who was it that played? Did I say? Oh, the 49ers, where the linebackers are so fast.
Yes.
And I think that's the going style now with all these offenses spreading out more in the pros. And they need fast linebackers, not those plugger guys anymore that been all pro forever. He's one of those. He can fly. He's a better space player than he is tackle to tackle. And I just don't think we need to let him go. But, yeah, Michael, I think I'd pretty much say let's hang on defense here.
Yep.
We got to get Simmons taken care of. Now, you got to do that.
Right.
But really after that, maybe try to keep Long and then hold on and fix the offense. Because you're not winning in the NFL if you don't score points now.
Mm-mm.
You could do it on defense in years past, but here in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been offense. It's offense. And look at the Chiefs. This is their best defense they've had. And they've been to 5 straight conference championships. You got to fix the offense, man, and we got to get going again. And they got to loosen up, Michael. We can't be as conservative as we've been. We've got to loosen up and pass the ball better. We've got to. We just can't keep winning. The games get so low scoring, and they're fast games because it's military style, as I called it, George, back in the fall. I called it military football. That's what we play. Yep. It's Air Force, Army. It's what you ran it. And when you played, Michael, it's military style. What does that do? Possession of the ball and shorten the game.
Yep.
Well, that's what they tried to do, possess the ball and shorten the game. Well, when you do that, man, you can't mess up an inch because it makes it so minute. You make little mistakes, it can cost you. And we've got to loosen up more, in my opinion, to get back to where we can. You got the Bengals, the Chargers, the Bills, the Chiefs. I mean, we've got to score some points.
Yeah.
You're not going to hold those teams down, guys.
Yep.
We got to score some points.
Well, I think you made a great point, though, is when you go through the division, I mean, this is still winnable. Of all the good AFC teams, you've got the weakest division. Jacksonville, if that's your biggest opponent in the division, I'm not saying they're not good. Trevor Lawrence has got all the makings of a star, but you feel like you can get over the hump with Jacksonville. Kansas City, the Bills, the Bengals, I don't know.
You got to get there and then beat them.
But yeah, I mean, it feels like you can beat Jacksonville for the division.
Okay, one of the teams that may have some of the same feelings is Denver. The Broncos, of course, have hired Sean Payton, and yesterday he basically sent a big mud hole in the direction of Russell Wilson. Listen closely.
The little gaggle out here about Russ and some of the office he has and the coaches that were on the field.
I'm not familiar with that relative to what we're going to do. I'm going to hire the coaching staff. There's going to be a certain method of how we practice and how we prepare. And so what was done prior, obviously, some of it unique or maybe some of it very common is of no importance to me. Certainly we're not going to have private individuals out there coaching. Right. If they're on our staff, they'll be out there.
Okay, Watson, that appeared to be something that Sean Payton had rehearsed, and then right in the middle of it sort of was like, okay, how far do I go? Boom. Here's what I want to know. Brady had a little bit of this going with a personal trainer that wasn't the Patriots guy. How much of this goes on in the league, best as you know?
Not much. I think it's more the exception than the rule. I haven't heard much of this at all. I mean, my gosh, George, it's the NFL. They have a position coach, an assistant coach for the position coach in every position. I mean, there's already enough coaches out there.
Watson.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. There's listening right there to Sean Payton is exactly what the Broncos needed to hire.
Mm-hmm.
They need to clean the place up, get a leader, and everybody jumps on the ship or gets off the ship.
Yep.
And that's what I think Sean's going to do. And I read that article with it, and he compared things to what Bill Parcells used to say. And he'd say, Bill would make the statement that we're going to win or lose with the way we do it. And your job is get on and do it or get out of here. There ain't no in between with it. And I can hear Coach Parcells, George, after being with him for a year, I can hear that. I can see it right now. And I think that's Sean's way too. And Denver gave up a lot, but I think that in one interview, I think they made the right move because Denver, the Broncos needs to be cleaned up.
And Michael, they're gonna have to weed some people out too.
Oh yeah.
And he will.
Oh yeah.
He will.
He ain't scared to do that.
So Watson, let's go to the issue to me that doesn't get discussed here. Okay. It's obvious Nathaniel Hackett was scared to death. By the way, you can pick whatever word you want after scared and fill in the blank. He was scared to death of Russell Wilson because he was allowing this crap to go on. But where is the general manager, George Payton, while all this is going on? Why wasn't he more, assertive? I mean, if I'm the owner, I'm going in there going, what the hell was going on in this place?
Well, that's what I don't understand about the NFL. In college, the head coach is the guy. Everything comes straight from him. Everybody follows. It's good or it's bad, but it's on one ship and there's one captain. In the NFL with this GM, then the coach, George, and how does that work? Is the GM have anything to do with when they get on the practice field and what goes on out there?
Right.
I don't think many of them do, to be very honest. I just think the whole thing was a mess, and it was a mess as soon as they made the hire. And it took a good team with a proven quarterback and embarrassed them. Denver was embarrassing at times this year. And Russell Wilson should be begging for Sean Payton to walk in and say, Russell, I love you, buddy, but all of that's got to go. It's got to get out of here, and we're going to be coached by you. Anything you want to do when you're out of this facility with somebody else, I can't control your life that way. But when you're here, and if I'm Russell Wilson, I'd want to hear that. That's exactly what I'd want to hear. Yeah, I've tried it this way and that, but I want somebody to lead me and get me back to where I'm what I was. Because it's obvious to Russell if he's a smart guy. What he did with his entourage didn't work because Russell did not play well at all through the year. And
don't you think he was a little surprised?
To say, take me to the promised land and I'll follow you.
Watson, don't you think, though, Russell Wilson last night when he found out that this had gone on might have been a tad bit surprised that Payton went public with it as opposed to a sit down in a room to say, listen, I know what's been going on. We're not having it.
And he may have. We don't know that. We do not know the answer to that. Payton may have already talked to Russell about it in parts of it, at least in a general way. I don't know. How many of those players Payton's Sean's talked to yet? I don't know. But I would just think he had to have in some way passed this on to Russell before he said it. I'd be very surprised if it was straight out of an interview and then Russell hears it. But even if that happened, if Russell is the winner, I think he is. He knows. He worked for Pete Carroll. He played for Pete Carroll, it comes from Pete. Pete runs the show, and he won doing it. He won at Wisconsin, which I know that ship is run by one guy. And it was. And he knows to be successful, there's got to be one guy in charge. And so I just don't even think, even if he didn't know it, Russell would take this too much the wrong way, George.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to this, the main mega theme here, which is if you win, nobody's going to say anything. When Russell Wilson was dominating for Seattle, he could have whatever quarterbacks coach he wanted. It's the reason Tom Brady's been able to get around this a lot because he's Tom Brady. But the second that there's a drop off in the performance, and a guy like Sean Payton now steps in who says, I'm the boss. Nathaniel Hackett, first year head coach, probably didn't feel like, there was any leverage there for him to tell a guy like Russell Wilson, how this was going to be run when they gave Russell Wilson all that money and traded for him. And so, it's interesting just how winning and the absence of it changes leverage and changes what really can go on in these facilities.
Well, and Michael, for God's sakes, everybody's got to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 or 3 different guys coaching Russell as a quarterback. They don't even know the offense. How in God's name can you be out there and be saying, Russell, you got to go here to here when you see this coverage? You can't do that.
No.
The thought of this blows my mind. I can't even fathom having your entourage out there just coaching Russell. And the rest of these assistants looking around and says, what is this?
I bet the coaches absolutely hated it.
Oh,
I bet
they did.
Oh, my gosh.
They did. They had to be sitting there. What are we doing? Which I think just went right back to the head coach. And
then somebody needed to step up in a staff meeting and say, let's cut the crap.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, George.
God. And I'll say this. I'm disappointed in Russell Wilson. I've been a big fan of his.
How much is he to blame for this?
Well, a lot. If he's got his entourage out there, that's Russell's call, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate to comment on it without knowing more about it on the Russell side of this deal. But I'll say if he doesn't jump on this ship now and say he's right, I got to get all these guys out of here. And if he don't make that comment, I'll be disappointed in him.
That's when we might know.
I feel like he has to. I feel like from a leverage standpoint, there's nobody that's going to put up with it at this point. They just brought in Sean Payton for a haul. Sean Payton. I just don't feel like Russell Wilson has the leverage anymore to say that.
Nah. Well, and the year he had on top of that.
Exactly. Exactly.
He had a very poor year. He doesn't have much leverage at all, if you ask me right now. Russell ought to be sitting there saying, whoo, thank goodness they didn't get rid of me.
Yeah.
At least I've got a chance to be the starter here. And
it was a year he never
Sean will bring somebody in to challenge him. Sean will bring somebody in to challenge him now. He'll do that.
George.
Now at quarterback, Drew Brees. What do you got there, Billy?
One more NFL note to get to.
We have a note.
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers will reportedly spend 4 days in a small house in complete darkness. He expects his decision to come after this. He said, I've had a number of friends who've done this, and they had profound experiences. This is not a joke. So he's going on a darkness retreat for 4 days. And then he's going to make his decision.
We'd like to announce that for the next 4 days of the Plaster Show, it will be in dark as we're
going to turn off these lights.
And then we're going to make our decision if we want to continue the show.
Right.
Or somebody
will do it for us.
George, you remember when Mike Leach put one of his players in the dark room?
Yeah, it was James's kid.
Yes. So I wonder if Aaron's gotten this from some of the Mike times in the past.
What did Leach do?
He it's kind of debated in what actually happened, but
he got let go over it. Basically, he lost his job over this. Basically,
it was.
He had concussions. Supposedly,
what was the running back's name? Last name James.
Edgerrin.
He played at SMU. He was a really good player. Craig James.
Eric Dickerson and
Craig James, wasn't it?
Craig James.
Yeah.
Boom.
So it
was his son, and he'd had a concussion. It didn't sound good at all to me what Mike did, but he'd had a concussion. He couldn't practice or whatever. So Mike supposedly sends him to this little shed, closes the door and says, just stay in there through the whole practice. Maybe that'll help your concussion or something to that effect. I don't know if that's exactly why it went down, but that's the first thing I thought of when I heard this. I said, I wonder if Aaron is going into a shed and lock the door and he's going to come out with a jersey like these high school kids sign to have their hat.
Oh, Lord.
Aaron will come out of the room with a Raiders shirt on or something. I don't know.
I wonder if this is where he's been getting his hair cut, because there always seems like there's one piece that doesn't fit the rest of it.
I'll say
that was probably too far.
I'll say this. Aaron Rodgers has the media in the palm of his hand and everybody else in the country.
Oh, and he knows it too.
It's crazy.
Yep.
He loves it. He
Yep.
absolutely loves it. I guess y'all saw that one of the golfers, I think it was Josh Allen, they played out in Pebble Beach, and Aaron wins the amateur thing of the tournament, and they shot like 26 under or something. And I think Josh Allen and his partner, who is a professional, his partner says, well, we really won because that handicap that Aaron Rodgers played with, he should have been a 3, not a 10.
Not
So
a
I mean,
10.
he's even claiming poor Aaron didn't deserve to win because he lied about his handicap.
Hilarious.
I'm telling you, Aaron can't stay out of trouble. He's into
No.
something all the time.
No. We're going to go to the break. Watson, a commitment to excellence. The
That's
plaster bet of the day is coming up next.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Pennington Distilling Company was founded in 2011 with the goal of creating original craft spirits that embody the same character as the city they were born in, Nashville, Tennessee. From grain to glass, every step is taken to produce spirits of exceptional craftsmanship and quality. Pick up one of their award-winning products like Pickers Vodka, Davidson Reserve Whiskey, and Whisper Creek Tennessee Sip and Cream today. Or stop by the distillery in West Nashville and the Nations. Follow them on social media and online at PenningtonDistillingCo.com.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com, and be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Welcome back in. Final segment on this Tuesday afternoon. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. Again, that's 615-242-9000, or log on to their website. That's bartdurham.com. All right, George, let's see what happened last night. And I'm hearing you got a win. Kansas pulled it out. I saw a stat last night. They are something like 38-0 on Big Monday at Fog Allen.
Are they really?
Wow.
Yeah,
I had not seen that.
Under Bill Self, they're
Wow.
It was something crazy like that.
He's been there 20 years now, which just blows me away.
Man.
That's an awesome place to watch a game.
How many national titles has he won at Kansas?
Two.
Yeah.
Mario
Yeah.
Chalmers.
And then
last year, yep.
Yeah.
So Kansas gets it done, George. I'm guessing you're going to stick with more hoops.
Wait a minute. Is it 3 he's won? Because Chalmers was back a ways.
When are you thinking the other one was? Second one.
3-4 years ago? Look, I could be dead wrong. I may be.
They've got 4 as a program. He's got 2 of them, and I think does Naismith have the other 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
there it is. His 1-2. Okay, so we need to continue, Watson, this standard of excellence.
It's a great card tonight, by the way.
It was a hard card.
You're getting
Which means
you're
hard.
getting comfortably over 500. We need to keep that up.
That's what we need. Watson, VCU is one of the most mentally tough programs in the country. They went to St. Louis a few days ago with the league lead on the line and throttled St. Louis in front of a sellout crowd. And now they're at home not only are they going to win, they're going to cover against Dayton.
You want me to say it? You want me to be
Sure.
the kiss of death? I think that's a good pick.
Do you?
I think that's a good pick.
Do you notice that you've said that a lot lately?
Yeah, and I've hurt you, but most of the time too.
The kiss of death.
Oh,
I did say you had a good pick yesterday with Kansas, so maybe I'm getting over the snide a little bit.
VCU's a tough place to play.
Yeah,
they're going to have
about a
good fan
7,000, 7,500 seat gym that is normally packed to capacity.
Yeah, and it's a basketball school.
So tomorrow, not only will Mark McGee join us to talk about the Predators' big game tonight against Vegas. This is one, boy, if they could go Vegas, New Jersey, LA Kings, Winnipeg, that would be 4 in a row against teams that most of the league would say better than the Preds. This is a big one tonight at 7 o'clock at Bridgestone. And we've got a college player tomorrow training in our city that's going to join us. Who is that?
Eli Huggins. Got a defensive lineman from Kansas State. So it's going to be fun.
That's a program that's gotten a lot done.
Man, they have.
We'll talk to him about the
Coach
old
Kleiman.
Yes, but before that, Bill Snyder as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Watson, you make sure and watch that VCU game tonight.
I will, George.
Thank you.
Be pulling for you.
Appreciate that. You're behind me, win or tie, aren't you?
Win or tie.
Yeah.
Win or tie.
Michael, Billy, y'all behave.
Good luck tonight, George.
Yep. Go Preds.
We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be a good show.